Hello there everyone, and welcome to the Prickly Pear die set layering guide video. So first up I am going to cut all of the elements from the die set. First up we have the two elements that have the number 1 on. So this is the first layer of both of the flowers, and I'm going to be cutting that out of the grapevine cardstock from Altenew. To make sure that I get all the detail from the kind of embossed lines in the flowers, I am using a metal shim just to make sure that that cuts perfectly the first time around. So I'm just going to move my elements up to the top and then store my dies again. I'm going to take both of the two layers for the flowers and also the small cup layer for one of the flowers, and I'm going to be cutting that out of some of the ruby red cardstock from Altenew. Again, I'm using that metal shim to get the detail from the images. Once that has been cut, I can then put the images right at the top again into my little pile and then store the dies over to the side again. I'm then going to cut the third layers for the flowers. This time I'm going to be using some of the coral berry cardstock from Altenew. Again, using that metal shim to make sure that everything is cut perfectly the first time around. Once I have that done, I have all of the kind of colourful layers for the flowers. I'm going to move on to the flower centres. We do have two layers for the flower centres. So for the base layer of the flower centres, I'm going to be cutting that out of the warm sunshine cardstock from Altenew. I do have some backing, some double-sided adhesive on the back of that, so I can easily pop these together later on. So once those have been cut, I can move those onto the side. I'm then going to move on to the second layer for the flower centres, and I'm going to be using the caramel toffee for this one. And again, I've added some double-sided adhesive on the back of that cardstock before cutting, so it's quickly and easily able to kind of pop those together later on. I'm then going to move on to the leaves. These are like little cactus leaves, and we do have the embossing on these ones. Again, as before, I'll be using my metal shim just to make sure that that detail from the leaf does get embossed into the cardstock. The cardstock itself is the hunter green from Altenew. So I'm just going to move that over to the side, and then we can go ahead and put these images together. So these are really easy to put together. So I have this first flower, and this is the one that has the arrow cut out, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to line the arrow cutouts all together. So I'm popping the second layer on top of the first, and then the third layer again with that little arrow cutout at the bottom. Once I have the third layer, I'm then going to pop in the flower centres for this one. So the flower centres for the flower that I have here is the ones that are kind of squished a little bit. This is the flower that's on its side and kind of cupped upwards. We're going to see the kind of perspective is from the side, so the flower center is squished and not the circular one. So I popped down the first layer for that one. That was the one that had the yellow cardstock, and then the orange cardstock is going to go directly on top of that one. And then once that's done, we can add in this cupped leaf that's just going to line up along that bottom edge of the third layer there. I'm then going to move on to the second flower. So this is the one that has the keyhole cut out, and we're just going to line up the little keyhole pieces on there. So the second layer goes on top of the first, and then the third layer, and then once that has been done, we can add in the flower centers as before. So the flower centers for this flower are the ones that are more circular, because we're looking at this image or flower from the top. So the perspective is from the top, so you're going to get a rounder kind of a flower center here. So I'm just removing any landlocked areas with a little pin, and then popping that flower center into place into the center of the flower, and then the second layer right on top of that one. And there we go. So that is all of the layering complete. We really do hope this video helps. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye bye.